They laughed at her dream until they walked straight into it. This is the story of Liana Drew, the forgotten daughter who turned rejection into an empire. When the same family that called her a disappointment booked a dinner at her hotel, they didn't know she owned it. What followed wasn't revenge, it was revelation. Because sometimes silence isn't weakness, it's strategy. Before we begin, hit that subscribe button, drop a hello in the comments, and tell us where you're watching from. Because this isn't just a story about success. It's about becoming the woman they never saw coming. They said dreams were only for children. But what happens when the dream refuses to die? This is the story of Liana Drew, a woman who learned that silence can build walls, and that sometimes you have to break those walls yourself. She was 33 years old, living in the quiet side of Savannah, Georgia, when everything began to change. Her family didn't believe in art, or in anything that didn't come with a framed degree. To them, security meant routine. To her, it meant freedom. Liana grew up in a house that smelled of lavender and pressure. Her father, Dr. Maurice Drew, owned a dental clinic. Her mother, Helen, managed the business side like a queen who trusted no one. Their home had perfect lawns, perfect photos, and perfectly rehearsed smiles. But inside, Liana always felt like a guest at her own table. Her younger brother, Eldon, was their pride, the golden son with polished shoes and medical ambitions. Every dinner, her parents spoke of him with pride that shone too bright for anyone else to exist. Eldon got another scholarship, her mother would say, eyes shining. Her father would nod, smile, and add, "That boy will make this family proud." Then both would look at Liana, who was sketching in the corner. "And you, dear," her mother would sigh. "Have you thought more about business school?" "I'm thinking about colors," Liana would say softly. Her father frowned. "Colors don't pay the bills." She smiled, pretending his words didn't sting. But inside, they carved deep scars. While Eldon was dissecting frogs in biology class, Liana painted walls in her school's art room. She designed event flyers, drew portraits for her friends, and built a small photography page online. To her, art was oxygen. To her parents, it was a distraction. One evening, her mother leaned over her shoulder. "This is lovely, but who will pay for it?" Liana didn't look up. "Someone who wants to see beauty." Her mother sighed. "Dreams don't feed families, darling." When college applications came, her parents paid Eldon's tuition in full. For her, they said, "We'll help where we can." So she worked full-time at a printing shop by day and studied design by night. There were days she edited photos until 2 in the morning, her eyes red from exhaustion. But she didn't quit. By 24, she had a bachelor's degree and a folder full of projects, posters, hotel flyers, wedding campaigns. Still, when she showed her father her portfolio, he only said, "It's cute, but when will you find something solid?" Liana's dream was simple, to create spaces that told stories through colors, shapes, and light. "I want to build a creative agency," she once said at dinner. Her father nearly choked on his coffee. "A what?" "An agency that helps hotels and restaurants design their brands." "So, you'll make logos?" he asked, half amused. She smiled tightly. "Yes, and more." He shook his head. "You're chasing illusions, Liana." She didn't argue. She'd learned that defending her dream only made them laugh harder. But laughter couldn't stop her. She started small, designing invitations, hotel menus, and brochures. One project led to another. Then came a message from Harper Lynn, a marketing director for a boutique hotel in Charleston. "I've seen your work online," Harper said over coffee. "You understand something most designers don't, the psychology behind beauty." Liana smiled, shy but sure. "I just want people to feel something when they walk into a room." Harper nodded. "That's strategy, not just art. I want you on my next project." That one conversation changed everything. Through Harper, she met people who mattered, investors, hoteliers, and developers who saw potential where her parents saw nonsense. Soon, she wasn't just creating visuals, she was crafting experiences. At 28, she registered her business, the Drew Collective, in a tiny downtown office with peeling paint and a second-hand desk. Her first employee was a photographer named Kendra Lowe, a woman with an infectious laugh and steady hands. You sure about this? Kendra asked on day one. Not at all, Liana replied, but I'm sure I'm done waiting for permission. Word spread faster than she expected. Boutique hotels from Atlanta to New Orleans called for consultations. She learned about lighting layouts, guest psychology, scent branding, things no one had taught her in school. At 30, she had 12 employees, a studio filled with life, and clients across 4 states. But when her mother visited, she only said, "Still running that art thing?" "Yes, Mom," Liana said gently. "That art thing." Inside, she'd stopped craving approval, until one text reopened the wound. It was a simple message from her mother. "We're planning your father's 65th birthday dinner." Eldon suggested a hotel called the Monarch House. "It looks beautiful online. Have you been there?" Liana stared at her phone. The Monarch House was hers, her first property under the Monarch Group, a renovated Art Nouveau building she'd turned into a living masterpiece. She typed slowly. "Yes, it's wonderful. I can get a professional discount." Her mother replied, "Probably out of our budget. We'll pick somewhere simpler." "Let me check," Liana wrote back. And that was how her quiet plan began. That night, she called Kendra. "Kendra," she said, "my family's booking a dinner at the Monarch. They have no idea I own it." Kendra gasped, then laughed. "You're joking." "I wish I was." "So, what's the plan?" "Silence," Liana said. "Until it counts." Kendra chuckled. "This is going to be fun." Liana smiled faintly. "It's not revenge. It's revelation." Over the next month, she watched the reservation unfold like a secret play. Her mother called twice to negotiate the price. "I know people in hospitality," she said loudly to the front desk. Kendra, playing along, replied politely, "Of course, Mrs. Drew. We'll make it memorable." Memorable, indeed. Liana curated everything, from the floral arrangements, amber roses and white lilies, her parents' wedding flowers, to the bourbon-glazed duck, her father's favorite dish. Every detail whispered, "You never really knew me." Then came the call from Eldon. "So, Mom says you're helping with the booking?" "Just using a few contacts," she said calmly. "Well, that's nice. I can chip in if it's too pricey. That place looks fancy." "It's manageable," she replied. He chuckled. "You've come a long way from drawing posters." "Something like that," she said, smiling to herself. When they hung up, she turned to Kendra. "Let's give them the full Monarch experience. Gold level. Gold everything." The night of the dinner arrived like a movie scene, sky painted lavender, sea breeze curling around the marble arches. The Monarch House glowed from within, every chandelier burning soft gold. Liana stood in her office, watching the security feed. Her parents entered first, dressed in their version of perfection. Then came Eldon and his fiancée, Claire, smiling like royalty. She took a deep breath, adjusted her navy gown, and whispered, "Showtime." Kendra's text came in. "Guest seated. Ready when you are." Liana took the service elevator down, walked once around the block to steady her heartbeat, and entered through the main door like any guest. Her mother looked up first. "Liana? You came." "I wouldn't miss it." Eldon smiled. "Nice dress. You clean up well." "Thanks. You too." Then Kendra appeared beside their table. "Miss Drew," she said warmly, "so glad you're here. Everything is prepared according to your instructions." Her mother blinked. "Your instructions?" Kendra smiled with professional calm. "Yes, ma'am. The bourbon you requested is breathing, and Chef says the glaze on the duck will make Mr. Drew very happy." Liana nodded once. "Thank you, Kendra." Silence fell like a soft curtain. Eldon gave a little laugh. "Hold on. Since when do you have that kind of pull here?" Kendra's eyes flicked to Liana, then back. "Since she signs my paychecks." Forks paused midair. The pianist missed a note. Helen's voice thinned. "What did you say?" Liana rested her palms on the back of a chair. Her voice stayed even. "Welcome to my hotel." Her father, Maurice, blinked hard. "Your hotel?" "The Monarch House belongs to me," she said. "My company bought it 3 years ago. Claire glanced at Eldon, startled. Eldon tried a grin that didn't hold. You're joking. I'm not. Kendra, sensing the moment had landed, dipped her head. If you need anything, Miss Drew, I'll be nearby. Then she slipped away, all grace and timing. For a breath, no one moved. Maurice set his glass down carefully.
How?
The same way you built your clinic, Liana said.
Work.
Patience. Long nights. Helen shook her head, a brittle smile forming. You should have told us. I tried for years, Liana answered softly. You called it cute. I stopped explaining. The server arrived with quiet hands and plates that smelled like memory. Truffle risotto. Bourbon pecan tartlets waiting on silver stands. Tradition dressed in gold. Dinner resumed, but the room felt different. Maurice leaned forward, curiosity warming his eyes. What did the renovation cost? More than the building, less than my piece, Liana said with a small smile. We phased it. Ballroom last. Acoustics were a nightmare. He chuckled, surprised at himself. I never thought about acoustics. You taught me to notice details, she said. Eldon cleared his throat. So, this whole thing was to make a point? No, Liana replied. This is Dad's birthday. The point made itself when you walked in. Between courses, staff moved with soft confidence, greeting Liana with the warm respect of people who chose her as much as she chose them. Evening, Miss Drew. Kitchen's ready on your word. Each small greeting stitched a quiet history across the tablecloth. Helen's gaze bounced between Liana and the room. You did this without us. Yes, Liana said. Because I had to. Morris's voice lowered. I think I owe you an apology. Liana didn't rush to fill the air. She let honesty sit. Dessert arrived wearing a whisper of gold leaf. Helen leaned close, voice unsteady. The anonymous donation that saved St. Alia's renovation. Was that you? Yes. And the boost to Eldon's clinic fund, the retirement account top-ups. Also me, Liana said. Through the Monarch Foundation. Maurice stared, astonished. We treated you like a risk. You were our safety net. I didn't do it for thanks, she said. I did it to heal something old. Eldon looked down at his hands. I didn't know you were capable of all this. That's because you never asked. When the guests finally drifted out into the velvet night, Maurice hugged her with both arms. I'm proud of you, Liana. Truly. She believed him for the first time in years. Eldon paused at the door, searching for words. Congrats, he said, thin as paper. Then he followed Claire down the steps. The lobby quieted. Liana slipped off her heels and walked barefoot across cool marble to her office. Kendra appeared with 2 glasses of champagne. You host a family dinner like a general. Liana smiled. I didn't host it. I revealed it. Morning brought a storm of notifications. Missed calls. Long texts. One email from Maurice. I owe you an apology. No excuses in the body. Just a clear, steady paragraph. Helen's voice messages were sharper. You ambushed us. You made us look foolish. Eldon's text sputtered between praise and complaint. Liana didn't answer. Not yet. Instead, she booked an appointment with Dr. Sarah Klein, the therapist who had taught her how to breathe through noise. You look lighter, Dr. Klein said when she walked in. I should, Liana answered. But I don't. She told Dr. Klein everything. The dinner, the reveal, the quiet aftermath. Dr. Klein listened and then asked, Do you want recognition or repair? Both, Liana said, but not if it costs me again. Then you need agreements, not arguments, Dr. Klein replied. Write boundaries the way you write brand guides. Clear. Usable. They drafted what Dr. Klein called emotional standards. No minimizing her work. No comparisons with Eldon. No advice disguised as doubt. Protect peace first, even from family. The next day, Liana met Maurice on the Monarch rooftop. Wind moved the linen like water. The bay threw back a soft silver light. He arrived early, always early, and stood quietly at the glass. You really did all this? Yes, she said. I thought your path was fragile, he admitted. I didn't see the structure inside it. She nodded. I needed space to build it. He swallowed. Tell me how to be better. She explained the standards. He agreed to each one without flinching. For the first time, their conversation felt like two bridges meeting. 2 days later, Helen arrived at the hotel without calling. At the front desk, Kendra smiled politely. Do you have a meeting with Miss Drew? I'm her mother, Helen said, bristling. I understand, Kendra replied gently. Her calendar is full today. I can request a time. Upstairs, Liana watched on the security feed, heart steady. Her phone rang. Your staff says I need an appointment to see my own daughter. Would you walk into Eldon's operating room without one? Liana asked softly. That's different. Not here. This is my work. They met a week later in Dr. Klein's office. Soft chairs, warm lamps, a bowl of polished stones on the table. Dr. Klein began, calm and clear. We're here to trade control for understanding. Helen folded her hands tight. I want to know why she embarrassed us. It wasn't about embarrassment, Liana said. It was about visibility. You didn't see me unless I fit your script. That's not fair, Helen whispered. It's accurate, Liana answered. I never needed applause, just respect. Silence gathered. Helen exhaled. I don't know how to fix this. You don't need to fix it, Liana said. Just stop denying it. After the session, change didn't roar. It rustled. Maurice began dropping by the Monarch for short, curious visits. Eldon sent an email that started with I was wrong and ended with teach me. Helen booked a quiet weekend suite months later and left a handwritten note at checkout. I'm learning to see you. Liana bought another property, a weathered vineyard outside Savannah with stone arches and clean morning light. She named it Drew Vale and didn't hide her name on the gate. Kendra became her partner. On day 1, Kendra raised a glass. To the girl they underestimated. Liana laughed. To the woman who doesn't wait to be seen. The vineyard project grew into something deeper than a business. Liana treated it like therapy with sunlight and soil. She walked the fields barefoot at dawn, sketchbook in hand, tracing the curves of the land. Kendra handled the logistics while Liana planned the design, a mix of old stone, warm woods, and soft gold lights. It'll be more than a resort, Liana said one afternoon. It'll be a home for people rebuilding their peace. Kendra smiled. So, basically, what you built for yourself. Liana nodded. Exactly that. Investors came quickly, drawn by her quiet confidence and the Monarch's success. But this time, Liana didn't chase anyone's approval. If they don't align with the vision, she told Kendra, we move on. One reporter asked her what inspired her to build so boldly. Liana answered without hesitation, when people doubt you long enough, your success stops being about proving them wrong. It becomes about proving yourself right. The quote went viral. But what made her smile most wasn't the headline, it was a text from her father. Beautiful words, my daughter. Months later, Helen called with a different tone in her voice. Can we host the family gathering at Drew Vale this year? Liana paused. You're asking me? I'm learning, Helen said quietly. You built something we should be proud of. Liana thought for a long moment. All right, she said finally. But this time, we do it my way. Open, honest, no pretending. Helen agreed, and when she hung up, Liana sat in silence, realizing how far they'd come, from laughter that dismissed her to voices that finally listened. The day of the family event, the vineyard shimmered under evening light. Guests wandered through archways draped in vines, soft music echoing in the distance. Eldon arrived first, carrying a small bouquet. This place, he murmured, looking around. It's stunning. Thank you, Liana said. He smiled sheepishly. You were right, about chasing your own path. She shrugged gently. We all get there in our own time. Kendra passed by with a tray of sparkling cider. Peace looks good on you, she teased. Liana laughed. It feels good too. Maurice arrived next, walking slowly, his gaze full of quiet pride. I read about your hotel and travel and taste again, he said. They called you a visionary. She smiled. That's generous. He shook his head. No. It's accurate. Helen came beside him, dressed in soft ivory, the same colors she once wore to criticize her daughter's choices. "You really did all this," she whispered. "Yes, Mom," Liana said, her tone gentle but sure. "I did." This time, Helen didn't argue. She just took her daughter's hand and held it. Dinner was held under fairy lights strung between olive trees. The air smelled of rosemary and citrus. Maurice raised his glass first. "To new beginnings," he said, "and to a daughter who taught us that courage can look like creativity." Eldon lifted his glass next. "To family that learns even when it's late." Helen's eyes shimmered. "And to forgiveness, because we all needed it." Liana hesitated, then stood. "To peace," she said softly. "The kind you build yourself." The guests clapped, laughter breaking the old tension that once defined every family table. Later that night, when most people had gone, Helen found Liana by the vineyard fence. "I used to think respect came from perfection," Helen said. "But you taught me it comes from understanding." Liana smiled. "It took me years to learn that, too." Helen reached into her purse and handed her a small box. Inside was the gold bracelet Liana had admired as a child, engraved now with 2 words, "Seen and enough." Tears burned Liana's eyes. "You kept it all these years." "I was saving it for a moment that felt right," Helen said. "I think this is it." Liana hugged her. Not the awkward, polite hug of old times, but something real and steady. For once, Helen didn't pull away first. She simply held her daughter, whispering, "I'm proud of you." It wasn't grand or rehearsed, but it was everything Liana had once begged for in silence. Weeks later, Liana walked through the finished suites of Drew Vale. The rooms glowed with warmth, every wall painted in calming tones she once dreamed of using when she was a broke art student. She placed fresh lilies in every hallway. "It's ready," Kendra said beside her. Liana nodded. "Ready for guests and for me." She turned the key in her own office door and smiled at the plaque that read, "Liana Drew, founder and vision designer." The title no longer felt like armor. It felt like truth. That evening, as sunset turned the vineyard gold, Liana sat on the balcony with a journal and a cup of tea. The wind carried laughter from the courtyard below, her staff celebrating the soft launch. She wrote in slow, steady letters, "Dreams aren't meant to be believed by everyone. They're meant to be lived by the one who carries them." Then she closed the book and whispered to the stars, "I'm finally home." In the weeks that followed, Drew Vale gained attention across the state. Articles called it a masterpiece of meaning and memory. Guests wrote letters about how the place made them feel whole. Liana read every one of them, smiling quietly. But the most important visitor arrived unannounced, Maurice, holding a small framed picture. It was the family photo from her college graduation, the one where she stood slightly apart. He handed it to her. "It belongs here," he said. She placed it in the lobby, next to a quote that read, "Peace isn't approval, it's arrival." Years of silence had finally given birth to understanding. The Drew family wasn't perfect, but they had grown, together and apart. Liana no longer needed their applause. She had her art, her peace, her purpose, and the courage to protect them all. One evening, as the last light faded over the vineyard, Kendra joined her with 2 glasses of wine. "To what comes next?" Kendra asked. Liana raised her glass, eyes steady on the horizon. "To never asking for permission again." And with that, she smiled, not at the past, but at everything waiting beyond it. And please don't forget to tap the bell so every new folktale reaches you first. Tell us in the comments what you think about the story. And tell us where you're watching from. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share this beautiful story with friends, family, and loved ones so they too can remember.